Now it's time to start talking about compositing. Layering clips in a sequence such that they somehow work together. Compositing is a huge part of Premiere Pro. It's inconceivable to me that an entire project could be done without some kind of compositing going on. So in this lesson, I'm going to introduce you to several different compositing techniques, most of which we're going to cover in this chapter, but several are so large that we need to take an entire chapter to cover them individually. So we'll cover a few here in this chapter, and then devote some individual chapters to more compositing techniques down the road. So let's get started by going over to Working Files, Projects, and roll on down here to 1201, Understanding Compositing. This project has a whole bunch of sequences that show all different kinds of compositing techniques. I'm going to start off by talking about layering graphics and video together. So for example, we have this background looping video here. I'll just show you that for a second or two. It looks something like that. You can find graphics like this all over the internet, or you can make them yourself with products like After Effects or even within Premiere Pro. This is just one that I own. Let me just show you how this works. You got this graphic playing there, and I want to put something on top of it. I want to composite something on top of it. So I've got this graphic, this photograph of the sign that I turned into a Photoshop file with just the graphic. Everything around there has transparency. So if I play this, we can have it play like this. Bring it up like that, put a little glow on it, pop it back a little bit like that. So there's a graphic with transparency running on top of that background. Let's keep on playing this and watch some more stuff here. We're going to switch backgrounds, that look, and move the graphic, move the sign, and bring up a little video clip that I turned into a still image. That's how many different layers? 1, 2, 3, 4. This thing called the dressage matte is a way that I cut off the right-hand side of the screen. I could have used a crop effect, but I used a matte instead. And we're going to talk about using mattes in an upcoming chapter. And it's absolutely standard to do this kind of stuff. And notice that we put things in motion, kind of squish them down at the bottom there to have them all fit in and adjust to their position. This is something you will do time and time again. Let's take a look at this clip here. These are 3 different scenes. Right now it says 4 scenes sequence, but there are 3 scenes. We're going to put them over a 4th scene in a second. I've got these 3 scenes like this. They play like so. 1, 2, 3. 3 clips inside these frames. So those frames are just flat solids that I applied a bevel effect to, and then I had them all sit inside there and brought them all together. I have those 3 things here inside the sequence. The black area is actually transparent. So here's what I did. I have another sequence here, and I've got that 4-scene sequence as a clip. This is something you can do in Premiere Pro. You can take a sequence and put it on another sequence, and that sequence, called a nested sequence, becomes a clip. It behaves like a clip. Like if I scroll down here to sequences, inside the sequences you see all those guys there which can be added to another sequence, and they behave as if you put a single clip there, even though this sequence here has 6 clips in it. So let me see how this looks now over this time-lapse video background. Do a little blur on it, bring up the 3 scenes. And now, the great thing about having a nested sequence like this is that I have 6 clips here, but I can use 1 cross dissolve to have them all fade at once. If I had to pile those guys up as 6 layers, I would have to use 6 different cross dissolves to make them all cross dissolve out like that. And they might not have timed out properly like that. There you go. So you can put pictures in a picture and have them be in frames and have them all behave like that. Let's go over here. We have a still photo sequence. Let me just back up here to the beginning. This is a typical kind of thing that you can do with family photos if you want to explain your family history, something like this. Bring up the house graphic again. Pull away the title now. Bring in another image. You can slide it on screen like that. Pull it down and maybe show the patriarch of the family, or the guy who first came overseas, the first immigrant, something like that. They all have drop shadows. I took that background photo, I desaturated it and blurred it and put these clips on top with drop shadows and moved them in. All very simple to do. Let's look at this next thing. We've got documents. You can take the headline there and kind of blow it up to emphasize what this is. You can zoom in on it and then reveal what's there by highlighting it like that. And pull the highlight away. And then move on down. Let's say slide across like this. And then highlight another area of this document. And then finally fade out. Fade that out and fade out the whole clip as well. This is the kind of stuff you can do with Premiere Pro just using still files, even something as simple as a document like this. Let's move on down the line to blending modes. Every clip, when you look at it, in the opacity property has this blending mode drop-down list. And the blending mode allows you to blend that clip with whatever's below it. So I've taken this graphic, this green graphic, which actually turns to different colors. I'll turn off these layers so you can see that. It changes to green and blue and another motion graphic like this. And eventually it loops back to green like that and starts all over again. It's a looping graphic, and I made it a looping graphic using a technique that I'll explain later. I have this video on top, another graphic, this one you've seen before with the dressage sign. Looks the way it normally does, but I cut it here and played it with a different blending mode. Look at how it blends now. So the different ways to get things to blend together. Here's yet another blending mode, like that. You can't have blending mode dissolve from one to the next, but you can cut the clips like this and apply different blending modes to each cut portion. There's another clip on top here. Let me just put that on without anything below it for the time being. It looks like this. You saw the one earlier. Let's just show you how that looks when it blends over something else. Right now there's no blending mode, it's opaque. But right here the blending mode changes and it shows two clips below it. That clip right down here, this clip right there, and the clip on the bottom, like that. All blended together. Three things blended together with blending modes like that. And then here are two of them blended together. And then here are the bottom two blended together. Very cool. You can have all kinds of possibilities using blending modes. Let's move on to this Photoshop file. If you would see it in Photoshop, it would be that. It would be a still image. Nothing would happen. But you can import Photoshop files into Premiere Pro as layers. And those layers can be put on a sequence. So every single clip here in this sequence is a layer from the original Photoshop file. Once you bring those layers into a sequence, you can animate those layers. So instead of that static image like that, you can have this. Pretty cool. So Photoshop files can be brought in as layers and put into a sequence automatically like this, and then you can animate them. We're going to work with green screens. You've probably seen weather folks in front of green screens, and you know that they can make those green screens transparent and electronically insert something behind them. That's what we've done here. We've got this DJ in front of the green screen. We've applied a key to that file. It's called an Ultra key. I'll turn it on, and that makes that green disappear, makes it invisible, and shows you the graphic behind it, like so. There we go. This looping background behind him there. So we'll talk about working with the green screens. Let me slide on down the line here. This sequence also uses a keying effect called the garbage matte key. It was created by a student of mine in one of my junior college courses. I teach Premiere Pro and After Effects and other Adobe Production Premium products at a junior college. And my assignment is for them to take assets that I provide to put the same person 4 times in one scene. And you use garbage matte keys to do that. And I give them extra credit if they shoot their own 4-way split screen scene. And this student did that and created a really funny scene and put some extra work into it too, because he also used a green screen. So I asked him if I could use his stuff in my tutorial, and he happily obliged. So I'll be showing you this and telling you more about the student when I talk about this 4-way split screen technique. Let me just show you briefly how it works. Here he comes out here. This is the first scene. He sits down. And then lo and behold, here he comes again. So how did he do that? Well, he shot this scene and held it for a long time while he sat there. Then he went back, he left, he came back, and he shot this one separately. And they melded them together by putting a garbage matte here, meaning he put this matte right there, making this part of this clip transparent. Then we bring in the next shot, he sits down. The next shot, this guy comes in on the left-hand side. Again, he was shot separately, and a garbage matte was put here to keep from having those guys get covered up by this clip, and he comes in and sits down. And then the third guy comes in right there behind him. This is a little tricky because he came behind his head, which was a hard thing to do, and I'll explain how he managed that. He goes by him, out of the scene, and it appears that he comes back in, but in fact it's a separate shot, and the camera shake kind of helped build that illusion. He comes in front of them, but in fact he's not in front of them at all. He's in front of a big green screen here, and he's keyed out that green screen. So you got garbage mats and green screens here, and I'm going to show you how we did all this in an upcoming lesson. So that is an introduction to some compositing techniques, and we're going to cover all these techniques in upcoming lessons and chapters.